Assalamualaikum.
Hello? Are you there?
Hi everyone, so we are on topic 4, which is using enterprise architecture. So in this topic we are going to look into the value and risk of using the enterprise architecture. So our aim of this topic is to look into the enterprise architecture success factors and also the risk analysis for enterprise architecture. There are two most important success factors for doing enterprise architecture. The first one is strong support of executives leadership and also the buy-in from stakeholder. As what we have discussed in previous topic, in order for the organization or an enterprise to execute the changes, they need to have support from their executive leadership, from the top management. So when the top management agree to the changes that is happening inside the enterprise, other people or other workers would also cooperate with and also willing to do the changes that is going to happen inside the enterprise. And of course, the buy-in from the stakeholder. Remember, we have three types of stakeholders who are sponsoring for the transformation, stakeholders who are involved in the transformation process, and also the stakeholder that are impacted by the transformation process. So all of the stakeholders need to agree or support the idea to have the enterprise architecture in the enterprise. Without the buy-in from those stakeholders, the EA would face failure. Okay, so for the risk of creating EA, basically we have actually discussed this before, right? When we look at EA can cause a certain value towards the enterprises, right? So when we create the EA, it can be time consuming, it can be costly, and also disrupt the business services that are currently happening inside the enterprises. And in terms of developing detailed documentations, would that have to cover in terms of the strategy, in terms of the business, and also technology within each area of the enterprise can also be time consuming and costly, because a lot of things that you have to cover, a lot of things that you have to look into. And in terms of hiring or training the architects and supporting analysts is one element of the cost, right? Whether we decide to hire a new person or we need to train. Okay, we don't want to hire anyone from outside, so we train their own the organization train their own architects. So those things basically cost the enterprises. And another part is the time taken for the line of business managers and also support staff away from their normal work, because they still have to do their business process, but they need to be committed to providing the architect team, enterprise architect team, with the information that are needed to do changes towards the enterprise. And lastly, highlighting on the cost of documentation tools and online repositories. All right, because the documentation tools would change. Let's say currently they are using paper-based. Now we have to change the way of documenting all those artifacts that we have, and we need to put them into one online repository where all people can access the online repository to take or to look into the artifacts that we have there. All right, so those things, everything incur cost. And then risk that architecture will not be used by the stakeholder if they do not buy in to the concept of holistic architecture or perceived value. So this is another risk where you have already delivered your enterprise architecture, however your stakeholder did not want to use the EA that you have produced. So that's the risk of creating the enterprise architecture that we have looked previously. Now we also categorize the risk types that might occur in the enterprise architecture. So we have a few risk types. The first one is financial. We have lack of acceptance. We have loss of key personnel. And then in terms of the schedule delays and also documentation tools. So remember, when we talk about implementing the enterprise architecture would have what we call as a current views and also future views. So implementing the EA involved in establishing all these enterprise resources in the current and also future views. And also we have the EA management plan where we will document everything with regards to the enterprise architecture in terms of the current, in terms of the future. And this EA management plan should be updated at regular intervals. So any implementation project that we have, establishing the initial set of EA information will require the startup funding. So this startup funding is not only on the current EA that we are processing or we are implementing. Okay, this is the start of before we start with the project. So in terms of financial would be the risk of having the enterprise architecture, because you need to have a lot of money. The resources in terms of the financial, okay, you need to have that before we begin with the enterprise architecture itself. Okay, and if you, let's say, decided to cutting the budget on EA maintenance, that will be affecting, okay, the EA programs that we are currently running, okay, which in turn would make your EA information useless, right? Because it can be an out of date information that you are currently have because you are cutting on the maintenance parts. Second risk that might occur with having the enterprise architecture is the lack of acceptance, because EA provide a new ways of looking into the enterprise resource, like it could be the EA that you are going to implement would be like a totally different way or totally different views with what currently enterprise is having, or the process inside the enterprise itself, right? So you might change a lot of things in terms of the strategy, in terms of the business, and even the technology that we used to produce the enterprise architecture. So the former approach to program management, which support the system level planning, will be replaced with the EA level planning, which is promoted through the EA programs that we have. This will most likely create some tension between program level stakeholders, the EA stakeholders, and might be other affected group, which will in turn would how to say, make them did not want to accept what we are currently trying to change. Another risk that might occur with having the enterprise architecture in the enterprises, the loss of key personnel. So in order for EA to be developed, we have like a EA team that is going to be set up for the process of developing the enterprise architecture. Since this is an emerging area of professional practice, it requires architects, we have analysts, we have developers, and we have programmers. And each of these skill sets is very important to the program. However, sometimes you might lost members of the EA team. Okay, so if you lost these people, the program implementation would be affected, affecting the implementation cost. This is because you will have to train other people for that role, or you need to find out other people to be hired for a certain role, because sometimes people would jump to another organization or companies if they have a better offer, or maybe because they have too many workload on a certain enterprise. So that's why you might lose some of these people. So that would be also a risk of creating the enterprise architecture. And then we have schedule delays. As with all implementation project, the documentation of current and future EA views, as well as the creation of the initial EA management plan, is approached as a project that has milestones and a specific schedule for completion. Just like you do a development project, you have the initial phase. Let's say if you follow a waterfall methodology, you have the initial phase, you have a phase, you have the requirement, you have a design, and then you have development. So it is as the same as where we try to develop the EA enterprise architecture. We have time for collecting and gathering the information of current views and then the future views, and then to have everything inside the EA management plan. So everything is approached as a project which have their own milestones. So you should have like or these people should follow the schedule for completion. So delays to the schedule can come from many sources, and it depends on the point at which the delay occurs during EA implementation, how long the delay is, the effect that can go from being negligible to being catastrophic for the EA program. So all of this would affect the EA program itself, right? So let's say if you delay the schedule for a certain program, so those program is using a certain resources, and then that program is actually the input, the output for that particular program is actually the output, sorry, the output of that particular program is actually the input for another program. So you see that would cause what we call as dominoes effect for that, right? So schedule delays is one of the risks for implementing the enterprise architecture. So one of the greatest challenges for the chief architect is to develop current and future views of the EA that are rich in detail, easy to access, and can support modeling and decision-making types of queries. So the capabilities of EA tools and supporting applications at present are such that intuitive and informative management views of EA information are difficult to produce with these tools. All right, so you need to have like the EA tools that can be a very helpful tool to produce all that. And because of more than one software application is normally required in an EA program, tool integration is an issue that the EA team have to deal with. So as new commercial tools are introduced, a chief architect has to consider what the effect will be on overall documentation if that product does not integrate with other tools. So finding the right documentation tools is very difficult, and also as we are not going to use like only one kind of tools, so a lot of tools have to be used in order to produce something what we call as the management views that can help the management later to make decision making and so on and so forth. So you need to have like more than one tools for that, and you need to identify ways to integrate all those tools so that you can extract the right information and document the information required. Therefore, in order to overcome or to reduce the impact that those risks that we have identified earlier, so we should produce, or the people in the EA team should produce the risk mitigation plans and activities, so that it will lower the uncertainty of having the occurring of the risk, right? So this activity could include, first one is strengthening the executive support for the EA program. So remember, they are the one that should be supporting the EA program, okay, for you to have a successful EA program. Second is solidifying the budgets. Third, not being the first adopter of EA tools and documentation techniques. Fourth, ensuring there are trained backups on the EA teams. And lastly, using a detailed EA implementation methodology to guide the overall program. Apart from that, we could also use basic program management skills. So these skills would address potential problems of the key personnel turnover, why people are changing their companies, in terms of cost and schedule overruns, and then in terms of performance issues and stakeholder acceptance. And to overcome the issues which are related to the technology compatibility of the EA product, so you can use so you can have the usage of commercial tools, okay, that are based on open standards and which are mature and have significant market share. So that it shows that the tools have been adopted before, so you can use it for your project. And then risk identification and mitigation, you have to remember it is not a one-time activity. It is an ongoing management review item which will assist in making the EA program successful. So you cannot like maybe you have this risk identification in the first place, and then you run the EA program, then you should also run the risk identification again and find out the mitigation plan, as we know that things are going to change over time. So your risk mitigation plan in the first place might not be suitable after a certain period of time. So this is what we call as the ongoing process for the risk identification. So now let's look at, let's discuss on the drivers and threats for the risk management strategy. So drivers for managing risk come primarily from the enterprise need to integrate process or systems and share information with concurrent need to protect those resources from unauthorized access and also use. We need to ensure that all those the information that is confidential only to a certain parties in the enterprise only can be seen to that authorized people, not from outsiders or anyone unauthorized to access it and also use it. So to find the right balance in each area of the enterprise is the purpose of having the risk management strategy. So the threats to the security of an enterprise business and technology operating environments can come from many forms, which includes fires, we have floods, earthquake, accident, terrorism, hackers, disgruntled employees, runaway technologies, and it might be comes from unintentional mistakes. So in addition, since we are in the era of everything is on the internet, everything is on the technology, so the threats, the daily threats can come from both outside and also inside the organization. So how serious the enterprise address these threats is often related on how aware the enterprise is of its dependency on ITs to support the key business service and the probability of a threat affecting the enterprise. So you need to find out the relation of IT to support the business service, how crucial is the information technology used for the businesses. So without an awareness of threats or an appreciation of their relevance, enterprise will not invest in a robust security or privacy program. Let's say you find out that or you are using the online repositories to store all the information, but you did not impose any let's say firewall towards your repository, so anyone can easily hack into your online repository and get the confidential information that you have there. So one fundamental aspect of security and privacy is the realization that there is not 100% foolproof solution for any enterprise. So with how to say that mindset, okay, so you would always try to find out if there's anything that can allow other people to look or peek into your information. So where did we say that we need to have it bear in mind that there's no 100% foolproof solution, okay, because the reason is that security and privacy program and risk management strategy that are being created by the members of the enterprise or by contracted service providers. So these employees and contractors who are in security and system admin position, they can decide to disable, to evade, or maybe sabotage the security and also the privacy solutions that is provided by them. So this type, what we call as insider threat, is the Achilles heels of all IT securities and also privacy programs, and is what underlies what are referred to as risk-adjusted solutions. So this means that a security or privacy solution is selected based on several considerations, which include cost, the level of protection needed, the effect on end users and system admin, and the effectiveness of available technologies. Now, what is Achilles heel? So what you need to do is that after you have finished watch all the slides and also the videos that provided to you, give the definition of Achilles heels, and uh, give one example of Achilles heels. I will post an assignment for you to answer this question there. Okay. Okay, so to continue in terms of our risk management strategy, so the best way to address security and privacy solutions throughout the enterprise is to have a set of control solutions within and around key business and technology resources and services. So using a defense in-depth approach, this control provide an integrated set of risk-adjusted security solutions in response to physical, personnel, and operational threats to the proper functioning of a EA component. So you have like some sort of set of the control or the solutions that you have. Let's say if the privacy is being invaded, the privacy is being breached, your information have been hacked, right? So you can look into this set of solutions, not only how to say, there's not one particular solution for a certain situation, so that you can have multiple choices of options, okay, for you to resolve the threats that you are encountering. Now, in order to show that the EA program has its own values is by quantifying the EA program. So to show the values to people that are involved in the process. Translating value to the bottom line is one of the questions the executives and line of business manager have about the EA programs, meaning that to convey the information to the bottom parts of the hierarchy, right? So they need to have a strategy to deliver the information. So building a business case that includes an alternative analysis, cost benefit analysis, and return on investment calculation is the primary measure for evaluating the contribution to profitability or mission success, meaning that try to quantify the EA program values. So what will be the aspect that can be quantified? So we can quantify in terms of shortening the planning cycles, more effective planning meetings, shorter decision-making cycles, improved reference information, reduced rework, improve resource integration and performance. We have fewer people in a process, improved communications, and a reduction in cycle time. For further description of every areas, you may want to refer to your reference books. So we have come to the conclusion for our topic. Only by addressing all of the relevant aspects of security and also privacy drivers and threats can effective solution be identified for individual EE components or groups of EE components that function together. Awareness that foolproof security is not possible because EE components are designed and managed by humans, and insider access is the ultimate threat which cannot completely be overcome. However, we can identify all the risks that might encountered by when we implement the enterprise architecture, and we try to mitigate those risks and also find out what are the drivers and also threats that can be faced by the enterprises when they implement the enterprise architecture. So we have come to the end of our topic of using the EA. We are focusing on the values and risk of implementing the EA in the organization. So should you have any question, you may ask me through Telegram or any medium that can reach me. Alright, thank you everyone. That's all for this topic. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and have a good day.